Okay, so Mary Amelia, born 1859 in Maryland. She was a 13-year-old girl. Let's see. The murder occurred on the 7th at 5 o'clock p.m. March. Mary Amelia Shockley, a beautiful girl of 13 years, just blooming into lovely womanhood, was shot through the heart by George W. Hall, a youth of 19 years, at the hour above mentioned, the girl dying almost instantly. The particulars of this most shocking affair are as follows. Hall has, it is supposed, long loved Miss Shockley and pressed his suit with vulgar, but she did not smile upon him, and he saw with yeah, I could barely read this old ass newspaper clipping. Oh my gosh. Uh, and he saw with mortification and charging that she was not likely to look upon him with favor. On the day he killed her, Miss Shockley left the district school in which she was a pupil, in company with four small children. She had probably proceeded 100 yards from the schoolhouse when Hall met her carrying a gun in his hand. He addressed some language to her, and she replied in a manable manner. Hall then asked her why she had not answered his note, written a few days before. She replied that she could not, implying that she was unwilling to do so. He told her she could have answered his note as well as others she had written to, and proceeded to say that he intended to shoot her then and there. To this threat she replied, "Pa, George Hall, you can't frighten me." Hall then asked the children if Miss Shockley's brother Elijah, a youth of 16, was at the school, and upon receiving a negative answer, ordered a little girl who studied by the side of his victim to move away. As he intended to shoot Amelia Shockley and deliberately raised his gun and fired at her, the load took effect just under the shoulder blade and entered her heart. The unfortunate girl exclaimed, "Oh Lord," and fell to the ground. Her murderer fled through the neighborhood woods. The children notified their teacher, Mr. Isaac S. Adams, of the sad affair, and that gentleman ha- has left the scene of the tragedy and found Miss Shirley lying on her side in the middle of the road with blood pouring out of a terrible wound in her side and squirting from her nose and mouth. Wow, they write different way back when. As she gasped in the agony of death, he raised her He raised her head and asked her to speak to him. She tried to do so, but her strength was inadequate, and she fell back and expired without having been able to articulate a word. The body was covered to the residence of the deceased parents nearby, and a jury of inquest summoned. The jury rendered a verdict of death at the hands of George W. Hall. The funeral of Miss Shockley took place Sunday morning at 10 o'clock in the cemetery of her family. About 1,000 people attending. The deceased was a daughter of James H. Hickory, and the murderer was the son of Philip W. Hall, both worthy and respectable men. Hall threw himself on the railroad track near Kinston Station Saturday evening. The train passed over him, cutting his head, arms, and both legs from the body. Oh, damn. He is known to have thrown himself under the cars intentionally. His remains were sent to Salisbury on Monday and taken in charge by the family of the deceased and buried. This sad and terrible affair had plunged the families of both victims into the deepest grief. That motherfucker is crazy. All because she didn't want him? Damn, you died a brutal death. Bye.